Black and Brown family, it's Yvette Carnell coming to you. And today, family, I want to begin with a story. It's a story of Black entrepreneurship. It is a story of African American men in 1919 building their own businesses, doing their own thing, doing for self, trying to achieve the American dream. Let me read you a story. Let's call this story time with Yvette Carnell. We're gonna have this every week. We're gonna call it story time with Yvette. Now let me tell you a story. Let me read you a story, ladies and gentlemen. The four Johnston brothers, numbered among the victims. I'll tell you victims of what. Just be patient. Dr. David A.E. Johnston was a prosperous Helena dentist and businessman. His brother Lewis was a physician in Oklahoma, home for a reunion. Black brothers, 1919, businessmen, home for a reunion. You got that? Okay, let's continue. The other two brothers who owned an automobile dealership were both veterans. Early on the morning of October the 1st, the brothers went squirrel hunting in the woods south of Elaine. After the merchant who had sold them shotgun shells told the deputy sheriff that the Johnstons were armed, the posse set out to find them. When the brothers learned of the disturbances, they left their guns and game inside their car and boarded a train to return home. Deputies arrested them before the train reached Helena. The men were shackled and put into the back seat of an Oldsmobile. A realtor and Helena alderman apparently had a grudge against David Johnston. A friend of Lily's had attempted to whip the dentist in an altercation a week earlier, but Johnston had instead beaten up his attacker. In the front seat with Lily were two white men. Okay? Now, here's the story. These are four black men, four black businessmen, and they were squirrel hunting, and a white mob came and got them. This is 1919. Those four black businessmen that I just told you about, African American entrepreneurs trying to live the dream, going squirrel hunting, were never seen or heard of again after those white people put them in that car. Now, why am I telling you this story about black entrepreneurship? Because I want you to think about that in the context of Donald Trump, in the context of Steve Bannon, who is his chief strategist. I want you to consider that. And I want you to consider what that means. That these men could not protect themselves. We hear a lot about Black Wall Street. Well, I want to ask you what happened to it. If you're going to have black capital, you have to be able to protect black capital. That's just the way it works. So I had a lot of people. I put up a quick video yesterday about how we need to be strategic as African American people in this country, descendants of slaves.
You know what, Yvette, I want to tell you right now, people love talking about Black Wall Street. People love talking about Black Wall Street, about how we used to be able to do for self, and we had our own stock market, and it was better when we had our own stock market. And all we need is to get our own stock market and our own resources again, and we don't need government. So tell me, Yvette, what happened to Black Wall Street?
Oh, the white mob killed it. The white mob came in and destroyed everything. And let me tell you something. Black people still haven't gotten reimbursed for Black Wall Street. So what I'm asking you, black people, when we talk about, because when I put the video
whole story. You just wanted to tell the whole story.
Tell the whole story. When I talked to you all yesterday, it's a 9-minute video up on my YouTube page. If you're there, subscribe and watch it. When I talked to you all yesterday, what I said was we have to be smart about this. Having black people say stuff to me like we can't negotiate with white supremacy is stupid. Because here's the thing. We can't protect ourselves. What is the difference today as opposed to 1919 when these black businessmen were taken over by mobs? What's the difference? Please tell me could you protect your community today as 13% of the population from a white mob if they came to your community and tried to arrest and murder and kill you? Could you? Could you do that? This is what I'm trying to get through to you.
You're telling me that I need white people? Yvette, come on now.
When you get up in the morning, let me ask you a question. When you get up in the morning, do you turn on your heat? Do you turn on your, if it's summertime, do you turn on your air conditioner? Please tell me how you do that without white people. Like, white people could flint every black community if they wanted to. What can we do? Like, and I'm not telling you.
So we need to get our own. You're telling me we need to get our own air conditioning. We need to get our own heat.
But that's what these guys were trying to do. They were trying to do their own. Talk about 1919 and owning a car dealership. That's what these black men were doing. And you know what ruined it? A white mob got in the car and snatched them up, and they were never heard of again. That's it. That's all you need. That's all you need to happen for all of your dreams to be over, for everything you believe in to be over. And I want you to tell me, black people, what prevents that from happening now? And you say, Yvette, well, what does that have to do with Steve Bannon? What does that have to, because a lot of you people said, when I put up that video yesterday, and the reason I put up the video about Steve Bannon, who, if you all don't know, this is Donald Trump's chief strategist. Everybody's saying he's a racist. He's awful. He's this guy who should never be in charge of anything. He's anti-Semite. He hates feminists. He hates all these people, but most of all, he hates black people. That's what I'm hearing. He hates black people and he hates Jews. Well, here's the thing. And they said we shouldn't negotiate with Bannon because he's a racist. We don't negotiate with racists. Well, we've been doing that since we got here. Like, who do you think we've been negotiating with? And I said the same thing on the videos that we've been negotiating with at that negotiation table. Like, I just want to know, if we're not at the negotiation table, what are we going to be? Because we're 13% of the population, and we're the poorest demographic, and that includes Latinos. Exactly where are we going to be if we're not negotiating with white supremacy? Now, I don't know if it's going to work. I can't tell you that it's gonna work. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't act like those pundits on TV who have a crystal ball. That's not who I am. What I'm telling you though is that the approach that we're taking doesn't make sense when you consider we don't have any power. When I asked a second ago, do you turn on your hot water? Do you turn on your gas? I asked that question for a reason. We don't own resources. We don't own resources.
Well, we can buy resources.
How you gonna buy a coal mine? How many black people own a coal mine? Like, our industry is entertainment. That's our industry. We are in entertainment. We dance and stuff and jig around, and that's what we do. But we don't understand that that's not real money. That's not real stuff that you can pass down. You can't make your kid be able to act like you or dance like you or sing like you, but you can pass down a coal mine and make sure he can understand what you understand and understand business. You can pass down an oil refinery and make sure he understands how to use that and utilize that and make money. So what I'm saying is that if you don't have white people don't want to hear this, but if you don't have white people, how you gonna turn on how you gonna get heat and air? Like, if they put black people, if they put us all on some little reservoir land, they said, guess what, African Americans, we're gonna give y'all Arkansas. What we gonna do with Arkansas? I mean, do we have not only the land, do we have the expertise for that? So for you to tell me that, Yvette, we can't negotiate, I'm telling you.
That's one thing we can do.
That's the only thing we can do. Well, the only thing we have to leverage is our vote. Like, we have our vote. We have our vote. We got the right to vote. And the one thing we have is our vote, and we're American citizens. We can leverage that to some extent. We can leverage that. So what I'm saying is that please don't tell me that, like, that's something that I can't negotiate. We're going to have to just go to war with white people. Go to war with who? We're 13% poor. Who you going to go to war with? And then we don't have really any allies because we accuse every white person of racism, even the white people who criticize Obama. For 8 years, they were racist. If you said one bad word about Obama, they were racist. Do you understand what that means? Do you understand, like, how immature that is in terms of how you approach politics? I really don't think that we do. And what I want to do right now is point out something. I want you all to tell me what's most important. Just tell me what's most important. There's a video, if I want to bring up this diagram, there's a diagram about Occupy Wall Street and the Tea Party, and what Occupy Wall Street and the Tea Party had in common. And I want to bring that up just because when we talk about Steve Bannon, one of the things to understand about him is not that, oh my God, he's racist. Okay, a lot of white people racist. I mean, show me, like, it's a lot of white people who are racist. Like, some people don't want to talk about it, but okay. But he was also opposed to the bailouts. Now, let's talk about the bailouts. The bailouts bailed out banks. Most of these banks had targeted African Americans. They had targeted the African American community with subprime loans and packaged them as AAA rated derivatives so they could make money. He was opposed to that. Occupy Wall Street was also opposed to that. I think that's something that we might have in common. I think that's not necessarily a bad thing. I don't think it's time to be in the streets shouting and hooping and hollering about who is a racist, because I will tell you, I think there have been a lot of racists who probably occupy the White House.
Are you telling me that I, as a black man, as a proud black man, you're asking me to negotiate with a racist? You're asking me to negotiate with a racist?
You already did. What you think we've been doing since we've been here? What do you think MLK was doing in the White House? Do you think he was negotiating with racists, or you think he was negotiating with people who loved him and were well-meaning and thought he was wonderful? He was negotiating with racists, and people said, well, before that we had riots in the street. We've had riots in the street recently. But I would prefer not to do that as like option number one. Can we let riots be like option number 6, option number 7? Like, why do riots have to be option number 1 for us? Now, I'm going to segue into something else. I'm going to segue, friends, into something else. I believe, if you want a case to actually get down and dirty about, I think one of the best cases to talk about that we haven't talked about because of the election is this case in North Charleston, South Carolina, where a black man was shot in the back as he was running away.
I'm going to interrupt you for a second, Yvette. Yvette, look, we need to pay some bills, so I need you people who are watching at home to click on the share button on your Facebook wall, or if you're watching on YouTube, tell your friends. But you can share it right now before Yvette goes in. All right? Thank you. Please click on that share button. And now let's do more story time with Yvette.
I ran me down and disturbed my whole train of thought. What was I saying? Let's get back. I was talking about a black man shot in the back.
Oh yeah, that one.
Yeah, and we were asking for money. There was a black man shot in the back by a police officer named Michael Slager or Slager. I don't know how you pronounce his name. I'm sure everyone would have gone with the narrative that he was fighting or he was trying to take the police officer's gun. He was reaching in his waistband. Had there not been a video, there was a video of Walter Scott, which showed that Scott was running away at the time he was shot. So that trial is coming to a conclusion. And I don't want us to lose sight of that trial because we're talking about Donald Trump. Okay? When you look at that trial, there are things that are very interesting. First of all, it's not a majority. I thought it may have been a majority black community. It's not. It's like 27% white. And the defense dismissed, I think, 7 or so jurors because they were, who were minority jurors. And the prosecution contested that for a while, but that's kind of where we are now. Now, one of the things that's very interesting about this trial is that the defense has said that the deceased who was running away, keep in mind, running away at the time he was shot in the back, they have said he took an aggressive stance during whatever altercation was caught off camera, as if that matters. How do you like at the point to which they were, keep in mind that they weren't fighting for any kind of gun or anything when he was shot in the back. The video
People want to know
shows
what
the
city.
not even in the video. The officer's not even in the video at the time that he was shot. The officer got pissed and shot him. And so let's just break that down. For you to say, well, he had an attitude. He said something bad about police. Like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? And they said, I mean, there were so many things in the court said about, well, you know, the defense attorney said, well, when he was cross-examining somebody, said, well, you know, the issue isn't what happened when he shot Scott. The issue is what happened beforehand. No, the issue isn't what happened beforehand. What beforehand doesn't matter. That officer was not in danger, and we have video to prove it. All right? We have video to prove that the officer, you know, wasn't in danger. And again, this is in like North Charleston, South Carolina. We're talking about Michael Slager is the officer, and Walter Scott was the man who was deceased, who was killed. So if you want to really follow this case, the Post-Clarion Ledger is the site that's really following this point by point, break by break. But let me just bring up something else about the case. Like I said, Charleston is 28% black. It was a pool of 100 potential jurors, all of whom knew about the killing. You know, they tried to move it to somewhere else. That was denied. They couldn't move it to another jurisdiction, blah, blah, blah. The defense dropped the legal challenge where they said that the 7 jurors who had been dismissed, who were minorities, that was racial discrimination. They dropped that challenge. And then you have, you know, this officer faces a life sentence. Now, the family of the deceased has already settled with the police department for $6.5 million. All right? So that's where we are with that. So
that's how much a black life is worth? We got a number for it? If you just want to shoot a Negro, it's $6.5 million.
Well, I mean, it depends on where the Negro was shot at. It depends on where he was shot at. But I mean, I think there's a price. And somebody said something during the trial about the body language of Walter Scott. The body language. What do you mean the body language? He was running away. It doesn't matter what kind of body language he had during the stop. At the time the police officer shot, he was running away. Like, the fact that you don't even say, yes, I did this, just give me my time. Like, why don't you, I mean, the fact that you don't even plead guilty. We have videotape of this man running away. He owed child support, apparently, and he was trying to get away. I have my own issues with people being charged child support. I mean, with their license being taken and all this kind of stuff because they owe child support. But he owed child support and he was running away. And he was shot in the back. And they're still trying to blame the victim. They're telling us, like, basically not to believe our own eyes. Don't believe your own eyes. Believe that in the altercation before this, that, you know, he was being combative, or he was having problems, or whatever. He didn't like the police. There was some kind of thing that said, he said, well, F the police and always cops. That's not the issue. The issue is that this police officer was not in danger for his life when he was shot. When he shot that guy. When he shot that man, he was not in danger for his life. And that police officer is facing life in prison. And I think we should follow this case because what that means is that, you know, I don't think we should get caught up in, I think we got to learn to be able to do more than one thing at a time. We got to learn to be able to follow Trump, follow the Congressional Black Caucus, follow your own legislation in your community, follow your own state lawmakers. At the same time, we got to follow this case because if I understand correctly, the prosecution has rested their case, and most of the, I think there were 27 witnesses, and most of them have already been called. So if anybody should get the 30 years, it's Slager. It's Officer Slager. If anybody should get that time, it's Slager. So I want you all to continue to follow this case. Don't give up on this case. Because I want everybody to know when the verdict goes down. Like, follow my Facebook. I want you, if you're watching on YouTube, I want you to subscribe. If you're watching on Facebook, I want you to like my page or like the Yvette Carnell page. Because like I said, I'm coming up against the 5,000 limit. And so you won't be able to comment. And it's only my friends. So I have another Yvette Carnell page that I'm also hopping in and out of. So follow that as well. Now, in terms of that case, that leads us into something which is very interesting for me. It's something that I have covered for a very long time. I have discussed for a very long time. And most of you are well aware that something I have talked about since I started, like, writing. something I've talked about since I started doing this. I've talked about who, everybody. I think if you on my page, you know who. Tell me who. Write in the comments who. I'm going to look right now. Tell me who I'm talking about. You all know I'm talking about Reverend Al Sharpton. My favorite street preacher without a church.
Hey, he has a following and his own 501c3 organization. It's national. I don't know what that means, but
I'm national. What that mean? I'm national too. We all national. What that mean? I mean, listen. I can admit when I'm wrong. I thought when Obama left the White House, I thought Al Sharpton was going to be like me too. I've gotten everything I can get. I have milked black people as far as I can get them with the Comcast deal. I have done everything I can do, but Al Sharpton is apparently still around. Do you know what he's doing?
He's an indestructible Negro.
Indestructible. He's a superhero. Little skinny man that went vegetarian or vegan or whatever. He's a superhero. And I ain't got no problem with that because I'm plant-based. But he's a superhero. And let me tell you, Al Sharpton has a march plan. Al Sharpton has a march. Do you know how long Negroes been marching? How long we go? Al Sharpton, let me tell you, I'm going to tell you the date. It's January. It's January 14th. But here's the kicker.
Real quick, would you rather march or have a meeting with Omarosa?
I want a meeting with Omarosa. I want to talk to somebody who has some power. I don't want to talk to nobody who doesn't have any power. Al Sharpton has no power. Let me break this down. Al Sharpton spent the last 8 years with the man who is supposed to be the leader of the free world. He spent the last 8 years with the president of the United States of America and couldn't get anything for Negroes. We should be done. You spent 8 years with this man. You were by his side. You were the one on MSNBC telling us that everything was gonna be okay, that Obama was doing stuff for black people. And now after Obama's time is over, you're telling me as a black person that I have to still protest? After the first black president, I gotta still protest? What was I trusting you for then? What was I trusting Obama for then? They were supposed to do something. You slick snitch. That's what was supposed to happen. This little FBI snitch we looking at as our leader. He ain't no leader. This dude was supposed to do something for us. Barack Obama picked him as his African-American, as his surrogate to the African-American community. And he was supposed to do something for us in terms of an agenda. Present that to Obama and hold him accountable. Instead, what did this dude do? He didn't do anything but smile and get an MSNBC TV show. He did nothing. And he coming back now talking about, I'm going to protest for you. If Obama had done stuff for black people, we wouldn't need to protest. Get out of here with your perm. Who still wears a perm in 2016 as a man? Get out of my face. And let me tell you something else. Black people, this guy, this man is so destructive. Like, I don't understand how we don't understand this. You have been in the halls of power. But that's what happens when you send a two-bit snitch in to talk to leaders of the world. He don't know what he doing. Al Sharpton don't know what he doing. He's never had any access to power. He was just happy to be in the room. He was just happy somebody invited him in and said, oh, Al, you're my guy. That's why Obama tapped him, because he was happy just to be a part of it. That's a part of not having wealth. And that's why I call African Americans descendants of slaves, because we need to know where we come from. And the truth, the descendants of slaves and descendants of and people who raped those slaves. Okay, let's put that all in there. But that is the issue.
Can we talk about that for a little bit? Because I actually want to tell the people, do not be flattered. All right, so we need to be honest about a few things. Power takes a while to get used to. When you're poor, when you've always been poor, when you've always taken a white check, you might not be used to power. I know I wasn't used to power when I first got it when I was younger. Power takes a while to get used to. Do not, and the way you get manipulated as a black person when you get a little bit of power is not through fear and it's not through threat, but it's by flattery. The way your preacher got spun as a black leader by the white establishment or white business interests or white politicians, it's because they flattered him. That's how you get spun as a black leader. You don't know who exactly you are, so all of a sudden you get into a nice room and a nice dinner, and you feel all fancy, and you get spun because of flattery. So do not expect threats. Do not expect. I just know that power takes a while to get used to. And this is going to happen to black leaders again and again and again because we don't have that many institutions to get used to real power. But do not get spun by flattery if you're looking for it at home. If you're paying attention at home and if you're taking notes at home, flattery is what gets black leadership, and flattery is what distracts black leadership away from the plight of the black masses. All right, back to Yvette.
Well, yeah, I agree, Irene. But if you haven't had any access to power, it feels real good, and it feels real good to have to have access when you're a person who never had access to power. So that's what we did. We gave Sharpton access to power, and we allowed him to be considered our leader. Like, I revolted. I remember when Obama started talking to him, I revolted. Leader of who? The National Action Network is a sham. It's not a membership organization. It's just like this little shield organization that he runs. So I revolted against the whole thing. But y'all seem to like old Reverend Al, and I'm just trying to figure out where it got you, because the income inequality in this country is worse than apartheid South Africa for black people. Think about that. In this country, it's worse than South Africa. Is that what we are? In the richest country in the world, that's where we are right now. So I'm not blaming, I was watching somebody, I'm not blaming Harlem, I'm blaming Al Sharpton. I'm blaming Al Sharpton. And let me say one other thing. Let me just read something to you, fam. Let me just read something. While we on here, let me just read something to you real quick. When Reverend Al Sharpton was talking about his march, I'm reading the article in Politico, and you can check it out. The article is titled, "Sharpton to Lead Protests in D.C. Ahead of Trump's Inauguration." Ooh, it sounds so threatening. I'm scared. I'm sure Bannon's scared. I'm sure Trump's scared too. But listen to what this guy said. He said, "Saddle up your horse." I ain't got no horse. But saddle up your horse and fight for the future of this country, Sharpton told a crowd on Saturday in Harlem during his weekly nationally broadcast rally. "You think you're going to take away our health care? Saddle up your horse." I ain't got no horse. But saddle up your horse. We're going to fight every step of the way. You better know we're coming. We ain't backing down. We lost round one, but the fight ain't over. Sharpton vowed to put pressure on senators who will have to confirm Trump's cabinet nominees. He also said he has been meeting with members of Congress to create a legislative strategy for Trump's presidency. "We're going to pressure the Senate on the Affordable Care Act," Sharpton said. All this comment, these are two paragraphs. Well, he's talking about the Affordable Care Act. Well, hold on. There was a very good article, and I want Irony to bring up the clip if he can. There was a very good article in Bloomberg which showed that the only people who were not benefiting from the Affordable Care Act was guess who? African Americans. So why is this guy who's supposed to be a black leader trafficking on a law that most black people aren't even benefiting from? That was I can't understand it. I don't understand it. Most black people are not benefiting from the Affordable Care Act because the Affordable Care Act costs money that we don't have because we're an underclass, whether you know it or not, and we don't have jobs. We're losing jobs left and right, and we may not have a couple $100 to pay for insurance. We just don't have it. Okay? And it's interesting to me. There was another clip, if you can bring it up, where from an article which showed that Obamacare is falling apart. Even before Trump, Obamacare is falling apart. And I'm not saying that doesn't have anything to do with Republicans. We know that Obamacare was depending on money from this expansion of Medicare. That's what they were depending on. And then the Republican governor said, we're not going to expand it. So I get that. But what I'm showing you is that this thing is falling apart. And if you look at this chart, in several states, there's only 1 to 2 Obamacare providers. That's not a market. That's not a market. Having only 1 to 2 Obamacare providers in your area is not a market. What are we going to do with that? And so you have this man who's talking about something. He's supposed to be a black leader, but he's talking about stuff in terms of his commentary that doesn't even benefit black people. He's talking about Obamacare. And what we see is that black people, by and large, haven't benefited very much.
That's not true. one black man has his entire legacy riding on Obamacare. So you have to ask yourself, when people like, no, really, you have to ask yourself, when people like Al Sharpton and even the Congressional Black Caucus talk about defending Obamacare and holding up Obamacare as a standard, when we know that Obamacare is not serving black people, who are they really defending?
Listen, I'm struggling. I'm a struggle commentator. That's what I'm saying. I want you to know that I had gone without insurance for a long time. Okay, Obamacare changed the whole market, so you couldn't really go out and get any other kind of insurance when Obamacare came of age or passed or whatever. So I said, okay, I'm healthy right now. I feel all right. Although right now I've been hoarse for like a month and nobody will tell me what to do about it. I've asked y'all and all y'all give me is limited tea and I need something else than limited tea. But I'm not gonna judge y'all. I understand. But the truth of the matter is, I said, okay, I'm gonna go get some Obamacare. I got Obamacare. I went and bought some Obamacare. I got a letter in the month. What did my letter say, Iron? What did it say? What did my letter say?
Thank you for applying for Obamacare, and we've enjoyed your service and your few $100s a month. But coming to January, you got to go.
I got to go. I ain't got no insurance in January. They just sent me a letter and said, oh, you're going to have to find something else.
That's one provider in Georgia.
That's what I can't do. What I'm supposed to do? Like, you don't understand. Like, oh, y'all making me sick. Who gonna pay for my emergency room visit? I'm still here reading books, trying to talk to y'all and provide information. Who gonna pay for my emergency room visit after December 31st? Now I'm gonna go to the emergency room. I'm gonna go to the doctor. I'm gonna go everywhere just because my Obamacare is about to be over. You know how we do. But what I'm saying is that who gives Al Sharpton permission to kind of make this case for Obamacare when Obamacare isn't benefiting black people? I mean, it's not just about that. When you look at, the five, the five wealthiest landowners, who are white, of course, own more land than black people.
Like black people.
Just black people. Just black people. We don't own no land. We don't own no resources. And that brings us to my next thing. Why are y'all doing a BET show to celebrate Obama? What is it called? The Love and Happiness? What is it called?
Well, BET, it's not owned by us. You know that. BET.
Yeah, but it's the Love and I can't find. I thought I wrote it down somewhere. Is it the Love and Happiness show?
Like the Al Green song?
Yeah.
I think it's Al Green. But BET isn't owned by us. That's Viacom's idea. Viacom loves Obama. Obama's been good to Viacom. Less good to black people, but good to Viacom.
Less good? Don't sugarcoat it, Iron Man. That's not less good. He's been awful. It's been awful to black people. He's been awful to black people. Black people own less than 1% of the rural land in this country. You say, what you mean rural land? Rural land is important because rural land is not a house. Rural land is you grow some stuff. Like real power in this country and real money means like I own the potatoes that I send to McDonald's and they cut them up and make French fries. Or I send the potatoes to the manufacturing place that cuts up and seasons them and they send them to McDonald's. Like that's the value of owning rural land. What do we own? What do we own? And we don't own it because we're awful people. Like we come from slaves.
And you know why white people own so much rural land? A lot of that comes from the Homestead Act. And a lot of that comes from just policies that locked black people out of family farms when there were family farms to be had. We were giving away. Not only and King said this pretty well. We'll bring up a clip maybe later. King said this pretty well. Like during that time, not only did we give land away to white families, we created land grant colleges and used tax money to teach those white families what to do with the land. So like there's an entire infrastructure that was built in order to generate white wealth at the time that black people were still numerous, but locked out of that wealth. And now we're still numerous and locked out of that wealth.
Yeah. Let me tell you something, black people. Let me tell you something. The top 10% of white families own 70% of the wealth. When you look at the top 1% of black people, I think it's $1.4 million they got. When you talk
$1.4 million,
when you think about white people who have all that.
Well, no, I know white people with $1.4 million who will consider themselves broke And they'll consider themselves broke, and they will stress out because they know, like that $1.4 million in terms of like wealth isn't like that much.
You mean they're not gonna buy rims and Maseratis?
No.
When they
So
get
like
wealthy?
the top 1% of Black American is at $1.4 million. That's $1.4 million at the top 1%. That's the richest cousin you know.
Got $1.4 million.
Got $1.4 million. But
and that's not in liquid. That's not liquid. That's in terms of you could have a nice house, a nice car, two nice houses, a house and a rental house and a nice car, and that's $1.4 million.
Right.
That's the top 1%.
In California, that's you own a house or you bequeath the house by your parents, and you got a car, right? It's $1.4 million isn't that much money, especially if you turn in terms of generational wealth in California. That just means in California you own 2 houses, right? So that's the top 1% of Black people. And you understand in terms of wealth, in terms of investment capital, because we live in a capitalist society, and when you're in a capitalist society, that means you need investment capital. In terms of investment capital, that's actually not that much investment capital when you think that's only the top 1%. When you have entire communities of white people who have access to more money than that. Right.
How many of us have stable communities? What Black person? I don't know a lot of Black people. I know maybe 2. And I know more Black people than most Black people. But I know about 2 Black people who could lose their jobs or stop doing their business and be okay. That's 2. And I know a lot of Negroes. That's 2 Black people. And you know what I saw on TV, Iron?
What did you see?
I saw Alicia Keys. I saw they were talking about Alicia Keys was singing some type of struggle song, a civil rights song.
Because Alicia Keys might have made a lot of money, but that doesn't mean Alicia Keys people have money.
No.
She doesn't. Okay.
No, Iron. Her husband. What's the little man's name that looked kind of like a vermin? Looked kind of like a squirrel. Squirrel. What's the man's name? Alicia Keys' husband. I know his name.
Come on, Facebook.
Swiss Beats is his name. Let me tell you. Swiss Beats, they got Swiss Beats caught up in this thing where he was driving cars to make himself look wealthy. The people had loaned to him, and then some kind of way they have accused him of selling the cars that were loaned to him to make money. These are the people that we're.
So even the people we think have money, they don't have any money.
They don't have money, but they're invested in making us believe they have money. That's what they do. The best, I've said this on Facebook 1,000 times. The best case was 50 Cent. 50 Cent told you how he went and melted down his gold to look like new gold, how he went and rented out all these cars, he had the money. He told you how he scammed Black people. And Black people, you know what Black people said? Black people said, oh, he scamming the bankruptcy court. Who you think he has the most to lose from, the bankruptcy court or Black people? No, he's scamming you. He ain't scamming me. And so we just kind of follow these degenerates wherever they go and everything like that. And it's all right because you know the degenerates are the degenerates. And I just don't understand how that goes. You know
what's the worst thing I saw today, actually, and it makes me sad because I kind of like Omar Epps as a human being. But, today I saw an interview where Omar Epps is talking politics. And I'm like, why? Who picked Omar Epps to talk? I don't care about Omar Epps' politics. I don't want him talking about Trump. I feel like there are 50 Negroes I'd rather hear talk about our political situation than Omar Epps. But yet the media feeds us these celebrities as if they're wise or if they're our approximation of wisdom. And I think that's...
Do you see white people speaking on politics for Black people? I mean, for other white people?
Well, let's say who would it be? Taylor Swift. Yeah, they don't get Taylor Swift and say Taylor Swift here, speak on politics, and your opinion is going to be taken seriously, and have an entire interview where Taylor Swift is supposed to be a political savant. But instead for Black people, we get Kerry Washington, Bunk from The Wire. All these people are supposed to be talking politics, but they're not. They don't read books.
What do they know? What do they know? What do they know about what do these people know? That's the danger of Black people just following celebrities. What do they know in terms of what Black people, in terms of the needs of the Black community, in terms of the data available about the Black community? I mean, I don't like Lil Wayne.
I don't think Lil Wayne is reading the data. You don't think Lil Wayne is reading the data?
I think Lil Wayne knows one thing. I think Lil Wayne knows that a lot of people in his concerts are white. And a lot of white people can afford it. Y'all think I'm playing? A lot of white people can afford a lot of white people can afford a ticket to his concert. That's what he knows. And so that's what he's taking advantage of. Let me just take a break right now, Facebook fam. If you're watching this on Facebook, I want you to just subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Even if you are, share it to your page. Share the conversation to your page. Or if you can't subscribe to my page or friend me because I'm getting pretty close to the friend, end limit. Then I have another page which is named Yvette Carnell, and I'm over there too. So it's not like I'm just in one place. If you're watching on YouTube, just go take a moment to click the subscribe button because we're trying to make moves. We're trying to have a conversation. I gotta give the Irby. He was right about the Trump election. I was on the fence. He was right. But y'all still listen to Jamel Bowie, and he was wrong. He was wrong.
He's so wrong. He was so wrong. He's so wrong. He doubled back because he's like, yes, I am bad at my job. I am wrong about everything, but Trump's a racist. Jamel Bowie, you are bad at your job. Think about that. Take that seriously. Don't just try to distract us with Trump being a racist.
But did you see his article? Did you see his most recent article?
Well, tell me about the most recent article.
He said Democrats are misunderstanding, or something like that, the Negro said. We're misunderstanding the Trump victory, and we shouldn't be led by Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is the guy who was supposed to be the nominee, and we shouldn't be led by him now?
No, Jamel Bowie said Bernie Sanders isn't going to win. Obviously, Hillary Clinton is the strongest candidate. I got in a Twitter war with Jamel Bowie, which he has subsequently deleted. So you only get my side. But he came right at me. He called me a loser. I don't know anything about politics.
He's good at deleting tweets.
No,
he's good at deleting. He's good at tweeting a minute. You got to screenshot that. If you ever get in an argument with Jamel Bowie, you better screenshot it because it will be gone. Somebody came and told me that he went at the editor of Jacobin and basically was like, he's a racist, he's a white supremacist, and then deleted everything. So if you get into it with Jamel Bowie, just screenshot that immediately. And if you feel like it, please send it to me. I would appreciate it. Send it to me at ydcarnell@gmail.com. Send me the screenshot and I'll publicize it because we got to get rid of these people.
Yeah, Jamel Bowie said, I don't know anything about politics. Obviously, Hillary Clinton is a stronger candidate. Obviously, she will win. And I was like, look, when Americans have to choose between a big jerk and a little sly little jerk, Americans are going to choose the real thing. I said this last year, and I said, be very careful, Jamel. And he's like, you don't know anything about politics. And I said, look, I don't want to, this is going to get real ugly in November, but I think I know Americans, and when they have to choose, they're going to choose the real thing. So don't send them a kind of corrupt candidate when they have to choose between a big corrupt candidate and a little corrupt candidate. And what did Americans choose? Americans chose the real thing. And then Jamel Bowie just deleted all.
Well, he said
the
they're
tweets.
racist. He said all these white people who voted for Trump are racist. So.
No, all right. So let's talk about that a little bit. If you're a trucker in Omaha, right? You're a trucker in Omaha, and you're a trucker's wife in Omaha, Nebraska. You know that Uber and Google are coming out with electronic cars, and those cars will be able to drive your routes. And I read an article in the LA Times about 3 weeks ago that said, we're talking in about 5 to 7 years. It could be up to 1.7 million jobs that are automated through this trucking lobby. And so if you're a trucker and you have to figure out who's going to try to protect your job, and do you go with the person like Clinton who's going to say, well, you were a trucker, but the economy left you, you can go and become a computer programmer now? Or are you going to go with a guy like Trump who said, no, keep your job. Keep your job. Even if Trump's going to sell you out too. But still, if you're in Nebraska and that's your job and you know that the computers are going to get you, Hillary Clinton is not going to save you. She's going to say, whoops, you should have gone to more school like me. So that's what we were fighting against. It wasn't just racism. These are poor white people who know that their government isn't working for them. And they're not that dissimilar to poor black people who know that their government isn't working for them.
But hold on. A lot of black people didn't know that our government isn't working for us. How many of us voted for the right wing of the Democratic Party?
Yeah, we had a chance about it. A guy was talking about clean water and funding education and infrastructure and guaranteeing Medicare for all. Medicare for all. That means you don't have to worry about your Obamacare.
But Iron Ta-Nehisi Coates said that he wasn't discussing reparations. So, isn't that he wasn't discussing reparations.
All right, so Bernie Sanders said, look, I'm going to do a poor people's program. And you know what black people are? Poor.
Oh.
So,
you're going to get people upset.
Well, look, black people are poor. Look, and that means if 30% of black people are poor, and that's the poverty line, that's $28,000 for a family of four. So if 30% of black people are poor, that means even if you're not poor, all your people are poor, your cousins are poor. So if they're taken care of, that means you don't have to take care of your mama. like when she falls out or when she hurts her hip. So like Bernie Sanders said he had a poor people program, and black people should have been like, yes, poor people program equals black people program, because even though I'm not poor, my people are poor because we're descended from slaves.
Yeah, but but we're aspirational though. I mean, we are descended from slaves, but we're aspirational because we believe that, like, if I start something, I'm going to be like that guy. I'm going to be that girl. I don't know what you're talking about. You just being defeated. You know how many times I hear that, Yvette, you just being defeated. You just being pessimistic about the options available for black people.
Options available for black people in capital.
Available, what they are.
All right, so like the median black income minus car, or median black net worth minus car is $1,700. What kind of moves can you make for $1,700?
I can buy a Nike stock. I can buy one Nike stock, and I can buy one Apple stock. I can buy one Twitter stock. How much is it? Am I finished yet? How much they are?
The thing is, no, but here's the deal.
I can't get off on 3 stocks. What I'm trying to say.
No, the thing is, black people think that $1,700 is real money. That's the problem. Like, that's the problem. They think I'm a capitalist. I'm in the game with $1,700.
There was a great article today about Chelsea Clinton's husband and how he was known as spending like a billion or whatever dollars, some big purchase he made in terms of real estate. And he was the youngest person to ever make that purchase. What they didn't tell you is that his father was a multi-millionaire in real estate, and that he was just Chelsea Clinton's husband was just. He was just the son of a guy who was doing very well, of a white capitalist who was doing very well. What I'm asking you, black people, just listen to me. Don't get emotional on me. What I'm asking you, how can you compete with this guy who has inheritance? And I'm not talking about inheritance even in terms of like he inherited $100,000, multi-million-dollar. That's what he inherited, and he's using that to invest in real estate in a way that's beneficial to him. I just want to know about how you invested in real estate. Tell the part about how you have boomer parents who helped you invest in real estate because they had some money. Tell the whole story and stop lying. Now, before I go any further, I just want to tell y'all, if you want to call in tonight, the call-in number is 970-296-8222. Once again, that's 970-296-8222. So call in. Let's have a conversation. Because the conversation has to be had. And nobody's really having a conversation. I've gone around YouTube and all the little corners of the internet, and nobody's really having the conversation that we really kind of need to have. So I want to have a conversation. I want y'all to tell me how we gonna compete with Chelsea Clinton's husband. And some of y'all are gonna tell me, well, we're not there yet, but we're gonna keep building. Okay. I mean, tell me how that's supposed. I just don't know how that's supposed to work. How is that supposed to work?
The thing is, I know about compound interest, and I know I am financially literate. $1,700 doesn't get you in the game.
It barely gets you a MacBook. Tell the truth, Irony. $1,700 barely gets you a MacBook. What you gonna do with $1,700? It barely gets you a MacBook. I bought a MacBook 2 years ago. It barely got me a MacBook. But you think you gonna make moves with something that barely gets you a computer for the day? Come on, man. Stop playing. Take a call.
You're on the air.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm great. How you doing?
Pretty good.
Thanks. First of all, I want you to know that I'm one of your biggest fans. Tonight is a very important night for me to get a chance to talk to you because I have so much going on in my life.
What's your name?
My name is Terrence.
Terrence.
Terrence Brown.
Okay.
Terrence, yes. I live in Alexandria, Virginia. Born and raised in Arkansas. To give you a little bit of history you might find interesting. When I was young, my grandmother, Rosie Spain, was actually a cook for Bill Clinton when he was governor in Arkansas. And I spent a lot of time at the governor's mansion. He had a little dog named Zeke, Cocker Spaniel. So I used to pretty much exercise the dog, take care of him all the time.
Oh.
Really enjoyed a lot of that. one of my biggest things is now, I mean, this is like when I was 12 years old. I'm 50 now, of course. Had a few bumps in the road, I mean, in my life. But my basic concern to tell you is, I really appreciate you waking me up, shall I say. Because, you know, when we're young, I was one of those same ones that believe that when you're first growing up, your parents tell you you're supposed to be a Baptist in the church.
Oh.
And, you know, of course, Arkansas is one of the biggest, Northwest Arkansas, Harrison, is the national headquarters for the Ku Klux Klan. And I've seen people who come from up their way and come south, and they've been taught ever since they was born that black people is a piece of crap.
Yeah.
To come down south to see life is a completely different thing. And what I'm telling you is, even with me and growing up in basically the Democratic lifestyle, I've really I really appreciate you and giving me the opportunity to wake up.
I appreciate that.
To what I've actually seen here lately. I mean, and I have to be honest with you. Probably people will get mad at me saying this. This year, I didn't.
He didn't vote for Miss Hillary.
I recently got I've had problems, and I recently got my voting rights restored. Right. But I have to tell you honestly that I didn't vote this year, simply because. And it was something Dr. Umar Johnson said as well. You know, it doesn't, as long as we're descendants of slaves, I don't think there's too much we can actually do. Just like he said, it doesn't matter who the warden is. The warden's job is to keep you in prison. And it's the same way I feel about regardless of who's in the White House. Their job is to keep us oppressed. And then they turn around and use certain people like we were talking about, Al Sharpton, to make things look good, to keep them part of the agenda.
Well, you know what, Terrence?
For what it should be.
You know what, Terrence?
To deal with our oppression and the things we've dealt with in life.
You know what, Terrence? I think, and I want to thank you, Carl, and I appreciate everything you said. But I just want to say one thing. You know, I think politics has its limitations, right? I think politics has its limitations. But I wouldn't say always that voting is not something, you know, that we should take part in, because even when black people get water holes, you know, and I'm not a person. I'm gonna be very honest with you. I'm not a person who votes who does or has voted every year. In 2010, I set it out intentionally because I didn't like the direction that the Democrats were headed in. So I'm not telling you got to always vote. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying like sometimes we don't get it all. But, you know, voting is like one of the few things sometimes that we do have. And it depends on where you live, too. Right. It depends on whether you're in a swing state. It depends on whether or not you're in a mostly Democratic state, if you can sit it out or whatever the case may be. But I think you have to, voting is something, to me, it's on a case-by-case basis, Terrence. I don't do it like carte blanche and be like, I don't vote or whatever. I just do it like, let me look at this election and what I have, and let me look at what's in front of me. You got something to add to that, Aaron?
Yeah, I want to say something that was he suggested, and I think it's important. A lot of black people blame themselves. Like, that's the worst part of this culture. That's actually why I got into this game. I'm a PhD student in political philosophy. I study at the University of Georgia. Like, why I got into this is because I realized that a lot of black people are blaming themselves for not being like Kanye. Right? A lot of black people, like, the media has us so spun that we feel like we're failures. And that's the problem. That's why, like, black people, it's not your fault. It's not your fault, and there's very little you can do about it. So we got to make the moves we can, and the moves we can is by organizing together and forcing our government to get us the contracts and the goods that we are due. And with those contracts and with those goods, then we build our own economy, and we build a black economy that's worthwhile. But one, we can't do this without white people, and we can't do this without government. And then we can't do this without actually like thinking about what it takes to build a political economy.
You still there, Terrence?
No, Terrence is gone.
Yes, I have to make a comment on what Aaron just said, and I appreciate that because right now I'm going through a bunch of things, even with being able to pay my rent. It seems like I hit a brick wall, and I done lost. I'm from the South. I lost. Hello.
I'm here.
Yeah, no, we're here.
Oh yeah, I feel like I've lost a lot of my self-esteem because I'm from the South, Little Rock, born and raised, and I feel like I've lost a little bit of my dignity as far as being a man and wanting to take care of my household. Now,
Everybody's
I've never been married because I'm one who wants to be able to take care of my family. So I agree. I really appreciate what he's saying.
Hey, listen, Terrence. Let me tell you something. Before I let you go, let me tell you something. Like, what's happened in terms of you not being able to take care of your family? Like, this country was not designed for you to do that. So, like, I don't want you to put that on yourself in terms of I couldn't do this or I couldn't do that. Like, don't bear that burden. Like, this country was designed for you to fail. And the fact that you are even on this call right now tells me that you're trying to see your way out of this as best you can. So you don't have any reason to feel bad. That's all I want to say to you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you go, but you don't, and I want to say goodbye, but you don't have any reason to feel bad about anything that's happened to you, brother. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, bro. Thank you for calling in.
I really appreciate.
No problem.
All right, want to take another one?
Sure.
All right. You on the air?
Hello?
How you doing?
Good evening. How you doing tonight?
Pretty good. How about you?
Couple of things. When Al Sharpton does anything, it is always in service to both parties. Case in point, this so-called march he's having. This is all about to detract from. There are legitimate people who will protest on Inauguration Day. Okay, that's all that is. He's a police agent. This man has had a relationship with police forces since he was 16 years old. And if you think I'm lying, there's a book called "The Rise of the Reverend Al Sharpton." And not only that, he brags about the fact that how he has a relationship with Rupert Murdoch and Bill O'Reilly in New York City. Okay, so that's him. So certainly ignore him. More specifically, Yvette, you talk about giving Trump a chance because of the proposed New Deal 0.20. Well, a couple of things. One, you have people who are legitimately protesting Trump now because they understand what fascism is, and these folks understand it, and it's the same thing that goes on in Europe. Now, at the same time, you got a lot of people who are here protesting, who are protesting for the right wing of the Democratic Party, and they got a whole bunch of police agents. You got to be able to see that. Now, more specifically, when you talk about a New Deal 2.0 from a Republican president, first and foremost, the New Deal is being unconstitutional by the Republican Party. It's been a platform. It's been a party platform for over 70 years.
But hold on. What's your name, brother? What's your name?
Hear me out, because
no, I'm gonna hear you out. But what's your name?
If you play it out, okay. Let's say you get some infrastructure projects, but these are going to be public-private partnership projects. These are not going to be the same way that FDR did it, and the way that people had advised Obama to do, which he refused to. And now, if folks get some jobs, what that's going to mean is that in 4 years, there are going to be more black people voting for Trump. But at the same time, as that happens, okay, that ain't going to mean that a whole bunch of us are going to get jobs anyway. You best believe that the way he's looking at this is he's going to run this through people like Michael Steele, Armstrong Williams, and other reprobate black Republicans and conservatives, okay? These people are our class enemies. And the other part of this is that I really believe that he's going to have a problem somewhat with the Republican-controlled Congress. And more specifically, I think let's not be short-sighted, because what this is going to do down the line is this is going to eventually help to push another split within the black working class. And so like I said, sure, people need jobs. I understand that perfectly. The brother,
Okay,
I was
okay.
just listening to
What's
what you were saying
what's
about the brother talking about
he
the
didn't
earlier.
he didn't have a job. What's your name, brother?
I'm just
What's your
saying to
name,
y'all
brother?
that
Oh my,
we got.
bruh. What's your name?
Go ahead,
What's your name?
Anthony.
Anthony. Okay. Anthony, let me ask you a question. Wasn't the public-private partnership like the cornerstone of the Clinton administration, Bill Clinton's administration? Wasn't that like one of his cornerstones, that public-private partnership? This isn't a Republican thing, right?
Go ahead.
So my point is, like, in terms of neoliberalism and conservatism, the public partnership is all we're going to get unless we want to rebuild unions, rebuild grassroots, rebuild the infrastructure. I don't see how anybody's going to get anything else. Like, we didn't get anything other than that from a Democrat. I just don't see how we're going to expect anything more than that from a Republican.
I understand. That's my point. What I'm saying to you is that, yeah, there's going to be people who are going to get some jobs if, in fact, he can come through with that. But at the same time, let's be real clear about the Clinton years, because everybody, I was in Atlanta. I was in Atlanta during Clinton's 2 terms. Everybody did not have a job down there.
No, they didn't.
During that time.
Certainly didn't. I agree.
Everybody did not have a job. So my point is, there's a context for this, and I think that I just don't want people to be just disappointed when they see the fact that, oh, okay, there was this proposed New Deal 2.0, but at the same time, it went through an infrastructure bank and the public-private.
Well, no, I don't think people are gonna be disappointed. I don't think people are gonna be
the hundreds of thousands of jobs that was promised turned out to be 10,000.
But I don't think people are gonna be disappointed because he is a Republican. Like, here's where I am with it. I'm just trying to get whatever black people can get. Like, I understand that it's probably not gonna be what we need. It's not gonna be what we would probably get from a leftist or further liberal administration. I totally get that. I just want to get whatever we can. Like, my whole thing is, like, get whatever you can get. Like, even if you don't get the amount of jobs you need to get, like, get in there and get whatever you can and press him on that. Because I understand what you said about the New Deal being unconstitutional, but that's the language that Trump used. I didn't use that language. He's a Republican candidate, and he used that language.
Okay. I mean, I agree. I mean, I'm just saying that there's a context. And so, yeah. So,
no, I agree.
The other part of this is that we know that the other thing that is very clear with the fact that the Republicans control both houses, we're going to see, think about the optics of this. How is this going to look when you got some folks getting some jobs, okay, but at the same time, with the fact that whoever's going to be head of the FBI, you're going to see more police shootings, more incarceration. I mean, it ain't going to just be, they will turn it up a notch in the way that has not been done so.
I mean, but did Bill Clinton turn it up a notch?
I'm just saying to you that.
Did Bill Clinton turn it up a notch? Mass incarceration. So this is all I'm saying. Like we have all I'm saying. And I don't think you're wrong. And I'm gonna let you go after this, Anthony. I appreciate your call, but I don't think that you're wrong at all. What I'm saying is just that get what you can get. Try to make some kind of deal, because these people ain't playing, and they're in control, and they have all 3 branches. Now, I'm not saying that this gonna be so much better, Anthony. I wanna thank you for your call, and I hope you call back, because you got some really good stuff to say. But I'm not saying that the Republican, like Trump, I'm not in here as a Trump supporter who thinks Trump's gonna do great things for black people. I'm just saying get everything you can, because that's what everybody else is gonna do. Everybody else is gonna get in there and try to make a deal with Trump. You see how all these there was a great article, I think it was also in Politico, about how the ADL was strongly opposing Trump, but a lot of pro-Israeli groups were like kind of staying silent. They're staying silent for a reason. They're maneuvering. They're trying to figure this thing out. So I think we should kind of like, I'm not a person who's like, oh, follow the Jews, Yvette. But I think anytime you're at war, anytime you're dealing with something like this is what you need to do.
Now, I'll be honest. You know who's going to get what they can from Trump and who's going to do this well? I bet you the LGBT community. And when I say the LGBT community, I'm talking about the white money of the LGBT community. I think they're going to get everything they can from this Republican presidency. And like a lesson in politics might be watching the moves they make. Because I think Trump's going to make a lot of LGBT Republicans, and because he's going to deal with them. And what I'm saying for black people, take the call from Omarosa. Like, take the call, negotiate, because this is what we got for 4 years. And like, worst comes to worst, we put some heat on the Democrats for actually like, and get them to actually deliver policy that's good for us, that works for us.
I agree. I don't see, like, this is not, and it's not even the fact that we can't, like, this is not the stage in the game for me to be out in the streets. Like, it's not even the fact that you won't have to at some point get in the streets. For me, it's just like, not now. Like, this is phase one. The man hasn't even been inaugurated yet. This is phase one, where you kind of feel him out, you poke him, you prod, you ask questions, you kind of push him, you see where he's willing to go. Okay, that's stage one. Black people have already gone to stage 10, and black people don't know they black. Why you out here? Listen, I have nothing. I want white allies. I want poor white people who need to realize they have more in common with black people than they want to acknowledge. I'm all for that, but don't get out in the streets with these liberal white people throwing stuff, because they're gonna make you the face of this. And then the Trump administration is going to make us an example of this. I don't want to be made an example.
No.
We've had all of our lives as being scapegoated. Aren't you tired of being scapegoated as African Americans? Everything happens, you get scapegoated and thrown under the bus. I'm tired of being under the bus. I don't want to do that. Like, I think somebody else should take the lead right now. Somebody else take the lead. It doesn't mean that we're not all in the fight together, but you feminists and all these other people, they said Bannon don't like a whole lot of people. I don't know if that's true at all. But if it is true, some of the other people that he doesn't like need to come in and take the lead. Black people tired. We done had Jim Crow, slavery, everything. We tired of taking the lead.
You know, you stick your neck out, that's a good way to get it cut off.
It's a good way to get it cut. Just put it in position. It's almost Thanksgiving. You know what it is, Turkey.
All right. Take another call?
Sure. Hello, caller. Hello?
Hey, hello. How you doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
Hello.
Hello?
How you doing?
Pretty good.
My name is Joseph, calling from Atlanta.
Hey, Joseph.
Oh, Atlanta.
Hey, I just wanted to thank you guys, like the two callers ago was saying, because I actually thought something was wrong with me too, specifically talking about like the stock market. Since I've been listening to you and irony, I understand what's going on with that a lot more. I thought maybe listening to other, influential black people that all I needed to do was pool my financial resources and make some investments on Wall Street and just ride it out over time. And, I could enrich myself or enrich my children in a decade or two. And I'm seeing now the fallacy of that because, like you say, and this is a term I didn't know until I listened to you, scale.
Scale is everything.
Scale is everything.
I basically had chicken scratch, not understanding that if I'm going to make an impact on Wall Street through stocks and bonds, I got to have scale, and I don't have that. And, I just wanted to thank you and Henry for pointing that out to me because, once I get done paying the rent and utility bills and putting food on the table and, transportation costs and things like that everybody has to do, I got a little bit of money left, and that little bit of money I left is nowhere near what I need to make the investments that
good for you for being honest with yourself.
Thank you. Hey, Joseph, I want to thank you, first of all. I want to thank you for saying that, Joseph. I really want to thank you for...
I'm going to let you go. I'm going to get offline. I'm going to get offline and just listen to you. And thank you so much, both you and I. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Joseph.
I'm going to continue to listen to you each week.
Okay. I want to thank Joseph because Joseph did something that so many black people are incapable of doing. Joseph called in and he was honest. Joseph called in and he was honest about black life. By the time you pay your car note, by the time you pay your rent, by the time you pay your light bill, gas bill, food, and all the other expenses, you don't have no money. But I'm going to tell you something. Even if you had money left over, it's not scale. Like what people don't understand is that the two things that occur to me about investing: scale, meaning having the money to gobble up a bunch of stocks and inside knowledge. You know somebody who knows somebody that knows that this deal between this company is going to take place. This is how it goes. And so to believe that you can somehow, create a life for your kids or your family without having that in place, it's just crazy. And let me just tell you something else. By the time you see a stock on the cover of Fortune magazine or on the cover of Forbes magazine, it's already too late. By the time you know about the stock, it's already too late. You would have had to buy Apple when? In the 1980s? The 1980s, you would have had to buy Twitter when? In the late 1990s, early 2000s. Like, it's too late by the time you know what the stock is. It's already, the early investors reap the rewards. You got to have scale, which means you got to have a lot of money. I mean, if you want to make $100 in the next 3 months, by all means, go ahead. But that's not enough. That's not enough for what you need to do to pass money down to your kids. And I'm happy that Joseph called in so we could hit that in again. And black people to stop feeling guilty for not having scale. You're the descendants of slaves. Don't feel guilty about that, okay? So let me give y'all the number one more time, 970-296-8222. And if you're watching on YouTube, just click up. There's a little button that you click to subscribe. It's a little red button. And if you're watching on Facebook, please just share the show. If you're watching on Facebook, like my page. If you can't, if you can friend me on Yvette Carnell, like that too, friend me there. Or there's another Yvette Carnell page you can use as well. So, I just feel, we're trying to scale too, just like these people. We're trying to scale too. So I feel bad for people like Joseph who've been fed this kind of bill of goods that if I can go out right now and buy a Microsoft stock and eventually, no, the people who made money off Microsoft have gone and left and they're starting new businesses. That's not, it's over for that, and I just think people need to understand what that means. And I think I'm happy that Joseph isn't any longer blaming himself, because if he hadn't heard us, he would be like, well, I just messed up. I made a bad decision. No, you don't have any kind of inside knowledge in terms of what goes on and what kind of moves are going to be made. So of course, what could you do? There's nothing that you could have done. Right. Is there anything he could have did?
No. All he did, that's the community. And it's not just him. It's a community wealth that we don't have. It's not just like my pennies aren't growing. Like, money doesn't grow like that. And this is the thing about black people who've never been around white wealth, I think. I went to school at Berkeley in the 90s. And at Berkeley in the 90s, I knew the guys who started Google at Stanford. I was in 1998, I was talking about, I was going home to Thanksgiving and talking about, I heard about this company my friends are starting at Stanford. It's called Google. It might be a thing. Keep your eye out. You just see the scale and just the amount of tens of thousands of dollars moving from friend to uncle to niece to and then being able to raise $50,000 just by asking a phone call, and then that's what gives you an ability to start a business. That's just not the way the way black money moves. No. We don't have that.
What black money moving?
The black money moves in $50. $75. And this is one thing that I actually kind of resent the people who poo-poo black people for their spending habits and think that there's a problem with consuming. There's a problem with our consumer habits, and that it's not the $150 Jordans. That's not our problem. Our problem is not the $150 Jordans. Our problem is we're only talking about $150. And if we're talking about $150 to $200, then that means you're not in the game. You're not in the game.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. No, that's very true. I'm happy that I'm just happy that he called in. I'm just happy that he called in and said what he said, because people say, well, Yvette, you're very defeatist. So what is the benefit? What is the benefit of listening to you? Well, so you can stop blaming yourself, because this isn't anything that you did. this isn't anything that you're responsible for. This isn't anything that, this isn't anything that is your fault necessarily. Isn't that right?
Right. So if we keep black people out of, if we keep black people out of the, blaming themselves and out of being depressed, I feel like we did our job. Like, I'll be happy with that. And then on top of that, if we get black people organized and actually demanding contracts to black-owned businesses from the municipality and get them organized and actually demanding a government that works for us and a government that, like, demands that we have clean water, as opposed to assuming that, like, black people can somehow, like, put pennies together and get the clean water themselves. Like, that would be even better. But first and foremost, black people, stop blaming yourself, because it ain't you. It ain't you. Society wants you to blame you. Kerry Washington and Shonda Rhimes and Jay-Z want to tell you that you don't hustle hard enough. But, like, this ain't you. This is America that's not built for you.
Very true.
All right, so we're going to take another call. I know some people are getting...
You can take them on here.
Yeah, well, can we plug that in?
I mean, if you play it, it'll play loud, right?
I don't know. We're going to take another call, and I know some people are getting shut out because our lines are busy, and, like, people got stories to tell. But we're doing the best we can, and let's just take another call. We'll take a few more, and we'll keep going.
Hey, Yvette.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Pretty good. How about you?
Hello?
Hello, how?
I'm good. I wanted to follow up in what you were saying with your last caller. I wanted to ask you, why did Eric Holder get a pass from everybody, including the black community? Why did we give Eric Holder a pass for the, him and Obama not jailing anybody after the financial collapse, going after anybody, not making the banks, give black people loans?
There's a whole lot of, like,
Hold on. What come on. I mean, let's be honest about this. Like, he was Obama's guy. Like, the part of the problem is that nobody ever thinks of holding black people accountable. We have this whole thing in our head that black people in high places have some kind of value just because of skin color and just because of, the texture of hair. That's what we have. And Eric Holder, let's think about it. Eric Holder was the same guy who said that banks are too big to fail. Like, that's the thing. That's what he said.
He said they are criminal. They did something wrong, but I'm not going to prosecute them.
But they're too big to fail.
Yeah.
And so I think because he was Obama's guy, like, when you look at it, it wasn't even an Eric Holder thing. It was a fact that Eric Holder was Obama's guy. So he was an extension of Obama, and black people were not ready to hold Obama accountable, and so they weren't ready to hold Eric Holder accountable for anything. It didn't matter.
I will say that
Eric Holder defended banks before he got into that AG job.
Oh, and he's doing it today.
Right back to defending banks.
And you're exactly right. He went right back to defending blanks. And guess what? We don't care. Let me ask you a question. When you look at black media, I'm talking about from the Root to News One. When you look at black media, who in black media do you know has been critical of Eric Holder? The black media is part of the problem. They have totally dropped the ball. They totally dropped the ball, and they don't hold anybody accountable. So when you don't, we've always had institutions. Institutions matter. We had historically black colleges, we had black media, we had all that stuff. Institutions matter. But the part of the problem is we don't have any black institutions. We can go all the way back to Ida B. Wells when she was writing about lynchings. We've had black media. We don't have any black media now. So what I'll tell you is that there are a lot of people out there, not just Eric Holder, but there are a lot of people out there that need to be checked, that don't get checked because we don't have black media. What's your name, brother?
Eric. I'm sorry. Yeah, my name is Eric.
Okay, Eric. Yeah, but that's my view, Eric.
Too, so.
Yeah.
I have one last point to make.
Okay.
Actually, I wanted to make one last suggestion.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm thinking as black people, we're going to unite and get together. One option that should be on the table is a one-time 1% interest rate when you buy a home. I mean, that's something, because we know the system is rigged. There is nothing we can do to get into the game. That everything is rigged. We know it. No matter what we do, they're going to be one step ahead of us. I don't understand why we just can't look at our elected leaders and say, look, we'll stand by you, but we want a 1%, one time, $200,000 or less, You buy a home, a one-time deal, 1% interest rate. That's the only way we as black people can get in the game and get some land and get some real estate.
That
we
is
have
a
to be
fun.
given an advantage.
See,
we need an advantage.
There
You're
you
exactly
go.
right.
He's exactly right. That's not too much to ask. That is not too much to ask for descendants of slaves. That is not too, okay. So when slaves were let go in Washington D.C., the slave owners were given reparations for like having their property removed, but the slaves, the ones in bondage, were just let go. Like, that's a metaphor for our life. Like, Eric's suggestion is not too much to ask. Is not too much. I actually think HBCUs should just be endowed in perpetuity. Like, that's it. Like, that's a wrap. Howard should never have to ask for like $1 from no alumni, nothing. Like, HBCUs should just be endowed in perpetuity. Like, that is not too much to ask. We have money for the Defense Department. Like Donald Trump is right, we print money. So like, HBCUs should just be like endowed, period. Now, about Eric Holder, I do want to say that there is one community, there are a few communities actually, that did hold Eric Holder accountable and that did punish the Democratic Party for not prosecuting the bank. And you know who leads that community?
Who?
One man named Stephen Bannon. Stephen Bannon is pissed at Eric Holder, and Stephen Bannon's people are pissed at Eric Holder. So that's what happens when we didn't take up the right fight. Yvette, you got something to say?
No, I mean, I think that's just the way it is. Not, I think Eric, I think you're right. I'm gonna let you go after this because I think we got a few calls, but I think you're exactly right. We should, but part of this, I don't want anybody to misunderstand that the problem is one of the biggest parts of the problem is black media. Only thing black media discusses is celebrities and did Beyonce look good?
And Black Twitter.
Yes, and Black Twitter. Black Twitter on fire. Look at Black Twitter holding people accountable. When Black Twitter holds somebody accountable? Black Twitter can't get you a check. Black Twitter can't get you into a door to access capital. What you mean, Black Twitter? So I mean, Eric, I think I'm gonna let you go, but I think you're exactly right, brother. And I appreciate your call because I mean it's insane the way we live right now. This is how we live, but it's insane. So.
Hello?
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 I'm here.
Oh, hey, how you doing? First time caller from D.C.
Hey, how you doing?
Pretty good. I called in because, when you guys were talking about the Trump 10-point plan, I actually watched part of his speech where he unveiled it in front of all those black business people on YouTube. And the part that, kind of made me perk up is when he discussed the microloans that he wanted to give to blacks in the inner city.
Watch out.
To actually start or grow businesses. And I think, if anything, that's one of the most important parts of it. It's something that we should hold him to, because that's actually what we do need and what we don't get, which is just access to capital.
All right, so I got
access to capital is important. Access to capital is important.
And the other talk of,
I will say microloans are a little bit dicey because they have a history in as being the way the United States does international development, but it works out a lot better for the banks than it does for the people. So you have to ask yourselves, do we have microloan problems, or do we have like huge, large-scale infrastructure and macro loan problems?
Well, what's your name, bro? What's your name? I hate not knowing people's names.
Jamal.
Hey, Jamal. Okay.
Jamal. Yeah, so like we have to watch, because we just don't want more black people in debt. That won't do it. So we have to be honest about the scale of our problems.
Actually, I forgot the word that he used, but it was, and I don't know if the Republican Congress would ever let this through, but he hinted at the fact that if you defaulted on them, you wouldn't be penalized for it. I know that sounds crazy.
Oh, that's all. If you don't default, you don't get penalized?
Well, we feel like white people now.
Wait a minute. You mean we as black people get to make mistakes? That's awesome. Like that changes everything for me. Like and that's why I'm kind of in favor of keeping this door open a little bit. I'm just saying, even if you keep it cracked. Like, I'm in favor of keeping, because if I can default and not be held accountable, that means I get the opportunity to kind of play the game with money that's not my own, which is what white people get to do every day.
That's what Donald Trump made his money on.
Yeah.
And so if you look at, because I had kind of done, I had stumbled accidentally on an article dealing with European and Russian immigrants that come here as refugees. And the U.S. government has a system set up that they actually give them small non-interest microloans when they come into the country. And if the microloans are successful, they give them a revolving loan that includes a 7-week business class. And that's how a lot of those groups purchase businesses or get off the boat and and own a 7-Eleven or start a dry cleaner.
What's my micro loan?
Working hard and saving money, they are getting money from the federal government.
Wow.
Where's my micro loan? You get a micro loan, Jamal?
No.
I didn't get a micro loan. Did you? Anybody? I don't know any black person that ever got a micro loan.
No.
I want a micro loan.
You know how we did this little studio right here?
Yeah, we raised money from black people. That's how we did this studio right here.
That's like squeezing water from a brick.
Yeah,
Raising
because we
money
don't
from
have
black
much
people.
money, and black people are wonderful to give it. But how come the government can't give me a micro loan? Jamal, you exactly right. I agree with you, brother. Where my micro loan at?
With a micro loan, we might actually have a marketing budget and kick up our. We might actually be
yes.
able to scale up.
Instead of struggle studio. I mean, did you have anything else to add, Jamal? I'm gonna let you go, but I appreciate your comment. Micro loan. I ain't got no micro loan.
Well, the part about you being able to default.
I just think that's just the most important part because black people have access to capital. You are business minded. You are entrepreneurial.
Right.
And I think that this can work out for us because we forget that why can't we own the dry cleaners in our neighborhood or the liquor store in the neighborhood or the grocery store in the neighborhood or whatever else that's usually owned by other people? Why can't somebody black open up a small little business in the neighborhood? I mean, those things do make a difference.
No.
It's not a large scale, but
No,
it does help to improve neighborhoods, and it brings back the entrepreneurship that the black community always had. At least pre-integration, but we owned everything in our neighborhood, and so therefore we had low unemployment because the kids can actually find jobs in the neighborhood and be hired.
I appreciate. No, I agree, Jamal. I agree with you 100%. I mean, I think that's something to think about, and I thank you for calling in, brother, because I think that's something definitely to think about in terms of not being punished. Like the key part is not being punished if you fail. That's the key for me, because we haven't really had enough time in terms of when you look at slavery. Slavery didn't end when people say it ended. We had slavery by another name. We had peonage farms and all of that. So we haven't really had enough time to experiment. So America needs to give us some time to experiment with some capital and make mistakes and figure this thing out if they really want us to be citizens in this country. That's what they need to do. I can't express it any other way than that. Yeah.
Hello.
Hey, Carla, how you doing? What's your name?
I'm John from Philadelphia.
Hey, John.
Yeah. I'm just to start off. I'm a big fan of your content.
Thank you.
I agree with most of your points. But the thing I disagree with you is about giving Trump a chance. Looking at his cabinet, it doesn't look like you're actually going to get anybody that's going to be confident.
It's our only play.
Yeah, go on.
Enforce policies that will, help the community. But this is besides the point. I don't even want to go into that topic really. Just being that. But I get frustrated because I see a lot of especially black people that are influential to the community, and nobody seems to advocate for any type of socially campaign fund, doing a program something if you model after the Bernie Sanders campaign, where on average he was getting $27 a person, and instead of getting those funds and funding a candidate, how about using those funds to actually fund and start buying property, start buying and start building up institutions, black institutions, instead of let's go to the political structure that we have to ask and hope and pray for. Here's the thing.
I was just talking to the previous caller about scale. You can't have like 30 black men getting together trying to invest in a marijuana shop. Like, that's not how partnerships work. It's people who have money for capital, honestly, who have money to lose, because capital, in using capital, is about having money is about having money that you can lose if you lose it. Like, so I don't think that there's enough capital. Like, I keep going back. Family has. I don't think you have a choice. I really don't think. Listen, this man has been elected. He, from what I understand so far, it's been fair. It's been free. I don't think you have a choice but to say whether or not you're going to negotiate with him. I don't think black people understand how vulnerable we are in this society. We are 13% of the population. We have the least amount of wealth, less than Latinos, Asians, everybody. You don't have a choice but to say, hey, at least I'm going to hear you out. Now, I'm not saying that there might not come a time that we might not want to get in the streets. I'm not saying that. But what I do know is that now is not the time for that. You can't say, well, I'm not. How do you say, like, I'm not going to talk to the new president when you don't have nothing?
He's gone.
So I appreciate John calling. I think John's gone, but I appreciate him calling in. If you want us to grow what we're doing right here, go to www.breakingbrown.com and subscribe. I mean, and get your donation. Subscribe to the YouTube. Subscribe to Facebook. And we look forward to talking to you some more. I don't know if we have another caller or not.
No, that's enough.
So, you know, we got to get more lines. We got to get more lines. I think we got like 6 lines. We got to get more lines. If you want us to, go more than 2 nights a week, you got to donate at breakingbrown.com. But we got to get some more lines in here. 6 lines is not enough. I got people in my text messages telling me they've been trying to get through for the last like 20 minutes.
We need some more money then, Yvette.
We trying to fix it. We
need that gadget.
We need gadgets. We need stuff to fix it. We only have 6 lines right now. I know we need more lines. Help.
We don't have money.
We don't have money. We have what we got from y'all, and that's what we use to buy the stuff that's in here. So
if we want us to grow,
do we know what the new gadget is we need? How many lines do we have to get a new thing that's worth 20 lines?
Yeah, for $2,000 we're gonna have for new line for $20,000 for $2,000
What the gadget we got? It's only got 6 lines. It's working my nerves.
Yeah, no, for $2,000 we can have this fixed, but I don't have that money.
I ain't got $2,000.
All right.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. And let me know, like, I'm watching the Facebook comments, so let me know what you say. Let me know what's going on in the Facebook comments. I appreciate it.